almost as long as I can remember, like this whole music thing has been everything in my life. So like, I started pretty young. I wanted to get into like, I was in a punk band, and I was the singer in the band. And I wasn't a good singer then either. and like, the other guys in the band, they started singing tunes too, so like I started getting benched, right? You know? And so like I got a harmonica so I could do something. The band decided what instrument I was gonna get. Like, because if I had a guitar or like a bass or a piano, I could like really ruin the music. But with a harmonica, I could only like mar it, right? But like nobody counted on what was going to happen, because so I told my mother I wanted one, but we thought like they were expensive, right? So she's like, if you get one, you got to take lessons. So I agreed, and I was already playing a little guitar, and my guitar teacher also taught harmonica. So I started taking lessons right away, and I got like the weirdest thing happened to me with harmonica is that I got like formal musical instruction, like right from the get-go. And you know, he told me, you know, he showed me the major scale and some music theory type stuff. And I got a chromatic harmonica, and I actually got into jazz band. I was like 15 years old, and so I was reading music and stuff at a pretty young age, but you know, I was kind of just winging it most of the time. But like, what happened was he gave me a cassette tape, and he said, "Listen, you know, if you want to get into harmonica, you're going to need to listen to blues music." And I'm like 14 in Maine, right? And like my influences at that time musically, right? Like with like the Misfits, and like Dead Kennedys, and like Fugazi, the Pixies, right? The Breeders, and I'm just like, this sucks. Like I don't want to do this, right? So there was a song on there. It was a Big Walter song called. It's an old standard. Big Walter was doing it off of an album called Big Walter with Carrie Bell, and the song was called Trouble in Mind. And I heard that one day when I kind of needed to hear it, you know, and I was moved, right? Like not by the harmonica, but by the sincerity of the music, you know. Shortly after that, my mom took me to see Cotton, you know, and it was good, you know. It was a bunch of drunk fishermen in Maine. It was late, and I was allowed to go into the club because they served food, right? And my mom was a blues fan. She had Howlin' Wolf records and stuff, and I was starting to get into into blues, you know, and Janis Joplin and Paul Butterfield and all that stuff, that 60s kind of white guy stuff, and I was digging it. And Cotton, at the end of the night, he came out and he did this song, Black Knight, that Charles Brown used to do, and they broke it down at the end of the night, and Cotton started singing without the microphone and playing, and all these drunk, you know, Conan O'Brien calls Maine the deep south of the north. And all these drunk fishermen, man, you couldn't, I mean, you know, it was dead silent in there. And there was this feeling like everything bad that had ever happened to James Cotton and everything good that had ever happened to him had to happen for that one moment. And it was the same as with everything in the audience. Everybody in the audience, everything bad that had ever happened to us, everything good had to happen so we could all be there together in that one moment, right? Where it was all worth it. And that was when I first kind of like understood what blues his music was. Right? It's like a lily in spite of the swamp, you know. And I was like, that's what I want to do, you know, which is a hefty order, you know. So I went off to, I had a terrible childhood. Okay? And, I was out of the house really young, like 16, and I got my GED, and I was in college in Idaho, and I ran into John Nemeth, and he right around the time that Dad took the harmonica. Like, can I just tell you, dude, you were amazing then, right? You know, like, but anyway, like, there was this club called the Blues Bouquet. And I had no intention of making music professionally, like none. And my father told me, when I told him that I finally wanted, what I wanted to do, I wanted to play blues, he said, he goes, listen, he goes, kid, you know, I don't care if you want to throw your life away on harmonica. He goes, just do your old man a favor, just don't ever nickname yourself Blind Lemon Lead Dick. So, like, so much of everything that I'm going to say goes with Junior Wells' 3 things that he told Johnny Sansone, minus the getting punched part, right? Which is what a career in music does to you, anyway. So, anyway, I was skateboarding outside this club, and the club owner, and I heard them playing music, and it was a Canned Heat song. I loved Canned Heat. I love Canned Heat. And the harmonica guy wasn't doing the solo right. So I was like, right, like for real. Ken Harris, he wasn't doing it right. And so I was like 17, right? My class was still in high school, and I was in college, failing miserably, drugs and alcohol. And, anyway, like, so like, I walk into the club and I get kicked out, and then I tried to go in the other door and I got kicked out, and then the guy came out and he's like, "What's your problem?" And I'm like, "Look, I play harmonica," and he's like, "Okay, look, you know, let me hear you." So I played, right, and he goes, "Okay, you get up and play." So I played, and then he told me, he goes, "Listen," he goes, "here's a cassette tape." And he goes, "This is Little Walter." He goes, "Best of Little Walter." He goes, I want you to learn the first song on the cassette." And he goes, "You come back and I'll pay you $10 so you can legally be in the club, and you can come every Tuesday and you got to play this song." So I came back the first Tuesday and I played the first note, and he said, "Wrong." This is the opposite of the Junior Wells thing that Johnny said. I had to play it note for note, and it took weeks before he finally was like, "Okay, you can play." So there was these guys that would come through Idaho, all these musicians, and Jimmy Rogers came through. Nick Moss was in the band when he was like 19, right? And Madison Slim came through, who was with Jimmy Rogers and Sam Lay, Mark Hummel, Rod Piazza, Norton Buffalo, Paul DeLay. Well, Paul DeLay was in prison at that time. But all these musicians came through, and there was this woman that used to had this house up on the hill named Darrell Longobardi, and she was rich, and she, you know, had all kinds of party favors back at the house. So the musicians would go to the house, and I was her little like mascot, like pet project, you know. And she let me come up there, and they'd all go into this room that I wasn't allowed to go in, and they'd come out very excited. And Madison Slim in particular, and they get in my face, right, and show me like, you know, like this is what it sounds like. And I would go, "Okay." And be like, "No, like this." And they're like coked up, right? Like right in my face, like, you know, like this for like 8 hours, right? And the sun would come up and the van would pick them up, and they'd be pissed at the harmonica player and get, and they were like all like heavy duty traditional blues guys. So nobody told me, like Junior Wells said, you need to sound like you. It was the opposite. They're like, you need to sound like these guys, and this is what you need to do, and don't listen to John Popper, don't listen to that Howard Levy guy, don't listen to Sugar Blue. You listen to Lil Walter, Junior Wells, Sonny Boy, George Smith, James Cotton, and that's it, pretty much. And like you ever see that Saturday Night Live skit? If it's not Irish, it's crap. If it wasn't those guys, it was. So anyway, I'm really grateful that actually happened to me, because I got like an understanding of the formal language of 50s blues, particularly from the chess leader.